In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't just like a friend of mine to hit me from behind. Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind.
Thank you for hosting this forum. It's a great opportunity for us to have our viewpoints shared with the people and to let everyone know exactly how we feel in our policies. My name is Glen Bradley. I'm a formerly active United States Marine. I'm also a former student at the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary. I'm currently a self-employed small business owner, and I'm a passionate constitutionalist who has dedicated my life to restoring the constitutional order for the United States and for North Carolina. There's a lot of issues facing us today, and the most profound has to be jobs and the economy. If we can find or keep a job, we find that our wages just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. A dollar today buys a nickel's worth, and a nickel doesn't buy anything at all. Halifax County currently has 14.7% unemployment, which is the 12th highest unemployment in North Carolina. Every time the government says that things keep getting better, our own eyes tell us that they're getting worse. You see, the government doesn't create jobs, it prevents them. The largest and most prolific employers in the North Carolina and the United States are our small businesses. When we make our businesses pay out huge sums of money for lawyers and legions of accountants in order to meet the irrelevant regulations, that means that they have less money to spend on their local economies and fewer resources to hire new workers. We have one of the highest tax burdens on small businesses in the world here in the United States, and particularly in North Carolina, and that's even more money that they would have spent on their local economies and to hire new workers. Now, we make it increasingly difficult to hire new workers with these burdens that were constantly being added by the state and the federal level. Is it any wonder that the companies are not hiring? We need to do three things. First, we need to reduce the regulatory burdens on our small businesses in order to allow them to redirect their resources locally and towards the expansion and hiring. Second, we need to reduce or suspend the tax burden on small companies so that they have more to spend on the local economy and for hiring new workers. And third, we need to work to prevent any new roadblocks from hiring in the future at the state and the federal levels. It is important to remember that in order to reduce taxation, we must first reduce spending. Fortunately, one of our larger expenses is in enforcing all of these regulations that are on the small businesses, so simply reducing them, we will see a great deal of savings right there. By doing this and getting North Carolina back to work, we can solve the unemployment and economic crisis in North Carolina. The next critical issue is education. Halifax County schools spend altogether $13,500 per student per year, and they produce 41% of students at or above grade level. The Gaston College Preparatory School, a local charter school, working in the same demographics, spends $10,500 per student per year and produces 81% of students at or above grade level. They spend less and literally get double the result. It's time to focus on what's actually working for our children and stop worrying about what only works for our politicians. It's time to bring back the most critical aspect of our children's education. That's our parents. The parents are uninvolved because they have little or no say. To fix our education, we have to bring the parents in and get them involved. To do that, we must restore choice in education back to our families and let parents with children in failing schools move them to more successful schools. By doing this and lifting the cap on charter schools, we can solve the education crisis in North Carolina. My name is Glen Bradley. I adapted the North Carolina Firearms Freedom Act and wanted a 2011 sponsor in the State House. I helped to germinate the North Carolina Health Care Protection Act, and I'm currently writing a North Carolina Energy Independence Act which will make our state prosper and restore jobs. My name is Glen Bradley. I'm asking for your support during my campaign, and I'm asking for your vote in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glen.
North Carolina has been performing education, healthcare, and law enforcement since the 1700s. This is not something that's new to our state. The budget crisis is something that's new to our state. As our population increases, our tax base increases. something's being done wrong. What's being done wrong are all the new regulations that have been placed on businesses that do not have a positive effect. They cost money to enforce. If we remove these onerous burdens from our businesses, our small companies who do the hiring, then that's a big chunk of our law enforcement budget that we don't have to pay. We have an issue with teachers in public schools who are underperforming. The problem that we have with cutting education is the way the system is set up right now, we have to just cut and the good goes with the bad, and that's wrong. It takes too much effort to let the failing teachers go and keep the good teachers. Those are regulations that we need to address and repair. So it's true, the largest portions of our budget are health care, law enforcement, and education. But there are a lot of cuts that can be made in those three areas without reducing services based on the waste, fraud, and abuse that we have failed to address over the last 50 years.
Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree. What I will add is that one of the things that's creating the crisis with illegal immigration are the services that are allowed to be given to illegal aliens, the free health care, the welfare, the food stamps. If we remove the incentive for illegal aliens to come into our location, they won't. That we're facing, and one of the reasons why it's hard to get a good answer from the panel here is that banks free up credit by increasing their deposit ratio. In other words, the more deposit a bank has, the more credit they have available to give out. Now, that is specifically connected to the monetary supply, which is dictated from the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a federal level issue. So, in order to increase the flow of credit to the small businesses nationwide and generally, what has to be done is the Federal Reserve is actually going to have to raise interest rates. And what's happening is the inflation that's being generated by the Federal Reserve by overprinting all this money is actually causing people to spend their money. If you know that your dollar's worth $1 today, it's going to be worth 50 cents tomorrow, you're going to spend it as soon as you get it. You're not going to put it in the bank. And that's the problem that we've had for the last 100 years. What we need to do is we need to rein in the Federal Reserve, and once we get control of these banks, and that's, again, on the federal level, and we don't really have any access to that at the state level, what that's going to do is going to get inflation under control. The monetary system is going to become sound, and that's going to increase the flow of credit, and the small businesses will benefit by extended lines of credit. Thank you so much. I want to thank you again for holding this forum. I am not a politician. I've never been a politician. I'm a citizen who has become outraged at the system that we've had to deal with for the last many, many years. In 2007, I officially registered to a party, to the Republican Party, for the first time in my life. I've been unaffiliated all my life. I'm quite frankly disgusted with both parties. I'm a constitutionalist. I believe that we need to return and to restore the constitutional order, that the vast majority of what's wrong with our nation and our state today comes from the fact that we have ignored the Constitution. We've allowed the federal government to get involved in things that it never had a charter to get involved with. For example, education. No Child Left Behind has destroyed our children's education and caused our teachers to teach to tests instead of children. And these are the kinds of things that are destroying our nation and our state. Let's return to the constitutional order. My name is Glen Bradley, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Well, once they'd align with a virgin, now they align with a beast. They show mirror images, whose meanings are reversed. When the bonfires burn on election night, we will break this curse. Take my name down, I'm a child of the Constitution. Take my name down, I'm an enemy to this king.